Darling, the whole point is that I ran the campaign against the PM for the leadership. If I'm out, well, who knows?
I could take a message.
There it is. Hello, yes, speaking. Oh, it's you, Michael. No, I haven't had a call. Have you had a call? Bill's had a call. What's he got? Europe? Bill's got Europe.
Lucky Europe. I didn't know Bill could speak French.
You can hardly speak English. Yeah, I'll call you back if I hear anything. Right. Bye. Fingers crossed. Hello. Yes, speaking. It's the gas board. Good Lord, man, that was weeks ago. Yeah, well, would you mind? I'm waiting for a rather important call. Look, Mr. Franklin, there happened to be a general election yesterday. Oh, you voted for the other side, did you? How on earth did you manage to get to the polling booth on the right day? 2 assistants, 3 returns for spare parts. Look, Mr. Franklin, no, frankly, Franklin, I don't care if the whole central heating system collapses in ruins. I have got to get off this phone. Goodbye.
They won't come now.
If the PM gives me consumer affairs, they'll come. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Darling, that was the front door. It'll be Frank.
Did you know Martin's got the Foreign Office?
Has he?
Jack's got health, and Fred's got energy.
Has anyone got brains?
What do you mean, education?
No, I know what I mean.
Well, what's left? I mean, what have I got?
Rhythm.
Frank, I have heard absolutely nothing. Not that it's surprising. My whole career is going down the drain and up the spout because the Prime Minister of England is totally unable to reach me on the electric telephone. You get it, would you, darling?
Hello?
Hello, this is the BBC. We were wondering if Mr. Hacker would like to be interviewed on the PM programme this afternoon.
PM?
PM? Hello, yes, Jim Hacker here. Yes,
Are you available this afternoon?
Yes, any time you like. Any time you...
We were wondering if perhaps we could interview you.
Well, yes, I've been hoping you'd call.
Tell me, what job do you think you're likely to get?
I beg your pardon?
Tell me, what job do you think you're likely to get?
Hardly for me to say, is it? That's for you to tell me.
What?
What? I mean, well, it's not up to me to say. I mean, that's for the PM to say. I mean, you're the PM's office. Oh, I see. The BBC PM office. Oh, a silly mistake, yes. Yes. Goodbye.
Well, I did try and tell you.
You answer the bloody thing.
Hello? Mrs. Hacker speaking. Oh, congratulations, Prime Minister. It's Annie here.
Yes, Prime Minister. Yes, of course. Yes, Righto. I'll be on the next train. Hello, Vic. You know, Sir Humphrey Appleby, Vic Gould, our chief whip.
You really are a pain in the arse, aren't you? The PM's going up the wall.
Huh?
Hitting the roof. You can't go around making speeches like that.
Oh,
It's open government.
Oh, shut up, Weasel. Who's asking you?
Weasel?
Well, he's right, open government. I mean, it was the main plank in our manifesto. I mean, the PM believes in that.
Open, yes, but not gaping. In politics, you have to learn to say things with tact and finesse, you Burke. And when to say nothing at all. How long have you been a minister?
Week and a half.
I think you may have earned yourself a place in the Guinness Book of Records. I can see the headlines already. Cabinet splits on US trade. Hacker leads revolt against Prime Minister. That's what you want, is it?
Sir Arnold. What news?
That speech is causing the Prime Minister some distress. Has it definitely been released to the press?
Well, the Minister gave express instructions for noon, isn't that
I'm
right?
appalled at you, Humphrey. How could you let the Minister put himself in this position without going through the proper channels?
Well, the Minister and I believe in open government. We want to throw open the windows and let in a bit of fresh air. Isn't that right, Minister?
Well, Minister, it's good party stuff, but it puts the Prime Minister in a very difficult situation personally.
What about our commitment to open government?
This seems to be the closed season for open government.
Do you want to give thought to a draft letter of resignation, Minister? I mean, just in case.
Could we hush it up?
Hush it up. You mean suppress it?
Yes, I suppose I do.
I see. You mean that within the framework of the guidelines about open government that you have laid down, you are suggesting that we should adopt a more flexible posture?
Right? Oh, yes, yes.
Excuse me, Minister, about the press release. There appears to have been a development which could precipitate a reappraisal of our position.
Oh?
Apparently, we failed to rescind the interdepartmental clearance procedure.
Oh.
The supplementary stop order came into effect.
Did it?
So it's all right, Minister. Your speech hasn't gone to the press.
I see.
It's only gone to the Prime Minister's private office, and the duty officer had no instructions to pass it out without clearance from the PM and the Foreign Office, the American reference, you see.
But how come?
The fault is entirely mine, Minister. The procedure for holding up press releases dates back to before the era of open government, and I unaccountably omitted to rescind it. I do hope you'll forgive this lapse.
Well, yes, of course. That's quite all right, Humphrey, quite all right.
Thank you, Minister.
After all, we all make mistakes.
Yes, Minister.
We're just getting reports of a coup d'etat in Veranda, the West African state that was formerly British Equatorial Africa. Earlier reports suggest that the Commander-in-Chief, Colonel Selim Mohammed, has been declared president. It's not known what's happened to the former president, President Alam, who was due to pay an official visit to Britain next week. There's still no sign of agreement in the present round of talks.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Get me the Foreign Secretary, quick.
Shall we scramble?
Scramble. No, it's not secret, it's on the news. Martin, what's all this about Veranda?
What's all what?
There's been a coup d'etat. How do you know? Well, it was on the news. Didn't you see? Don't you know? You're Foreign Secretary, for God's sake.
Yes, but my TV set's on the blink.
TV set? Don't you get Foreign Office telegrams?
Oh, no, they always come in later. I get all the foreign news from TV.
You're joking, aren't you?
No.
Oh. Well, what about this official visit? We've got to make sure it still happens, haven't we?
How can we? I mean, who's the new president?
Well, we must find out. And make sure he comes, whoever he is. There are 3 by-elections hanging on it.
I know that.
Let me know if you hear anything more.
No, you let me know. You're the one with the telly.
You've heard the sad news, Minister?
Yes, disaster.
No. Just a slight inconvenience. The wheels are in motion. No, it's really perfectly simple to cancel the arrangements for the visit.
Cancel the You'll do no such thing.
We have no choice, Minister.
I've just been speaking to the Foreign Secretary. We are reissuing the invitation for the new president.
But we haven't recognized his government.
The wheels are in motion.
But who is he?
Mohammed something.
But we don't know anything about him. What's he like?
Humphrey, he's coming here on an official visit. We're not putting him up for the Athenaeum.
Minister, Veranda is in total confusion. We don't know who is behind him. We don't know whether he's Soviet-backed or just an ordinary Verandan with an eye for the main chance. We cannot take diplomatic risks.
The government has no choice.
But Her Majesty...
Her Majesty will cope. She always does.
But who is he? He might not be properly brought up. He might be rude to her. He might take liberties. He will be photographed with Her Majesty. And what if he then turns out to be another Idi Amin? The repercussions are almost too hideous to contemplate.
Oh, we'll just have to find out about him.
Well, we can't. All that we know is that he's an enigma.
Humphrey, I don't care for that word.
Enigma?
And there are reasons of state which make this visit essential. Veranda is potentially enormously rich. It needs oil rigs. And we have idle shipyards on the Clyde. Moreover, Veranda is essential to the government's African policy.
The government doesn't have an African policy.
Well, it has now. And if he is Marxist-backed, well, who better to win him over to our side than Her Majesty? Moreover, the people of Scotland have been promised an important state occasion. We cannot go back on our word.
Not to mention 3 marginal by-elections.
Not to mention 3 marginal by, which had nothing whatever to do with it.
No, of course not, Minister.
Yes? Oh, it's the Foreign Secretary.
Martin? Yes? Yes? Oh, splendid. The new president of Veranda has announced his intention of visiting this country next week in accordance with his predecessor's arrangements.
Oh, so the Foreign Office is getting the facts at last, is it?
Well, not exactly. Martin's driver heard a news flash on his car radio. So, the visit's on. That is my recommendation to the PM. Another policy decision, Bernard. There's quite a lot of them, after all. The people of Veranda urge the Scots and the when the English oppression, cast off the imperialist yoke and join the fellowship of free nations. Good God. Yes.
Well, Minister, we would appear to have been caught with our trousers down.
Humphrey, he can't say this in front of her.
Well, I don't like to say I told you so, but I told you so.
We're going to have egg all over our faces.
Not egg, Minister, just imperialist yoke.
3 Scottish by-elections on Thursday.
Well, yes, it is indeed a catastrophe, a tragedy, a cataclysmic, apocalyptic, monumental calamity. And you did it.
Humphrey, you're paid to advise me. Advise me.
Well, this is not unlike trying to advise the captain of the Titanic after he struck the iceberg.
Must be something we can do.
We could sing Abide With Me.
Yes?
Minister?
Ah, yes.
The Foreign Secretary would like a word.
Ah, Foreign Secretary.
Have you read this?
Yes, my minister's concerned that the government will have egg all over its face. Scotch egg, presumably.
Why is he doing it?
Well, maybe it's for home consumption. He's only just taken over. Perhaps he's trying to persuade the other African leaders that he's a pucker anti-colonialist.
Yes? Yes, Bernard.
The press officer would like a word.
Oh, dear.
Room for a little. Humphrey, do you think it's a good idea to issue a statement?
Well, Minister, in practical terms, we have the usual 6 options. 1, do nothing. 2, issue a statement deploring the scene. 3, lodge an official protest. 4, cut off aid. 5, break off diplomatic relations. And 6, declare war.
Which should we do?
Well, if we do nothing, we implicitly agree with the speech. 2, if we issue a statement, we'll just look foolish. 3, if we lodge a protest, it'll be ignored. 4, we can't cut off aid because we don't give them any. 5, if we break off diplomatic relations, we can't negotiate the oil rig contracts. And 6, if we declare war, it might just look as though we were overreacting.
In the old days, we just sent in a gunboat.
Yes.
I suppose that is absolutely out of the question. Yes.
Minister, the
Yes,
permanent
but-
Under-Secretary at the Foreign Office is coming down the corridor.
This is like the black hole of Calcutta.
May I come in, Minister?
You can try.
This is all we needed.
Welcome to the Standing Committee.
Sir Frederick, you've seen this abominable speech. What are we going to do about it?
Well, Minister, Foreign Secretary, I think we know what's behind it. Don't we, Humphrey?
Humphrey?
I think Sir Frederick is suggesting that the offending paragraph may be, shall we say, a bargaining counter.
You mean he wants something?
But if he doesn't, why send us an advance copy?
See, well, why did you find out what it is he wants?
Because the embassy staff are all new. We've only just seen the speech, and no one knows anything about this new president.
Except me.
Except you.
How?
They were at university together. The Old Boy Network.
Hey, that was 25 years ago. He may not even remember me. No, I don't really think I could. I think you ought to see him, Sir Frederick.
No, Minister, I think you carry more weight.
Well, we're all agreed then that the mountain shall go to Muhammad.
Oh, no. Jim's going.
That's what I meant.
All right. But you'll have to come with me.
Well, of course, Minister. I'd hardly let you do it on your own.
You read it? I've read it.
Have you read this?
He's read it.
Let me read it to you.
We've read it.
Let's get rid of Jim Hacker by John Pilgrim, our special investigator. The Right Honourable Jim Hacker MP promised to carry out the government's pledge to slim down the civil service and to wipe out the interference from the Whitehall and Town Hall busybodies. But how many people realise that, to take just one example, more people serve in the Inland Revenue than the Royal Navy?
It's true.
I believe it is, Minister, yes.
Perhaps the government thinks that a tax is the best form of defence.
Oh, that's rather witty.
And have you read this bit?
I have read it.
I have discovered that no less than 4 ministries check the supply of the same army uniforms. The Ministry of Defence checks to see they get what they ordered. The Department of Industry checks to see they have been manufactured according to government regulations. The Treasury checks the bills, and Jim Hacker's mob just checks up on everyone else. Jim Hacker is the most obvious case of overmanning in Whitehall. Let's start by getting rid of him and saving at least one salary.
Frank, why did you read me that? I told you I'd read it.
Because I'm your political advisor. Do you realise how politically damaging this is for you?
Good morning, Minister. Have you read this?
Yes, yes, yes! I have read it. I have read it. You have read it. He has read it. We have all bloody read it. Have I made myself clear?
Abundantly, Minister.
I'm sorry. Sit down. Humphrey, we have got to slim down the civil service. How many people have we got in this department?
This department? Oh, well, very small.
Small. How small?
Oh, I don't know.
2,000? 3,000?
About 23,000, I think, Minister.
23,000? In the Department for Administrative Affairs? 23,000 people just administering other administrators? We'll have to do a time and motion study, see who we can get rid of.
We did one of those last year, Minister.
And?
It transpired we needed another 500 people. However, Minister, we could always close your bureaucratic watchdog office.
Oh, no, you don't. I've only just opened it. It's the one thing I've done since I got here.
Well, as you wish, Minister, but it has been criticised as a troublemaker's letterbox.
I know. It's very popular with the voters, Humphrey. Gives them a chance to help us find ways to stop wasting government money.
Public doesn't know anything about wasting government money. We're the experts. That's not what I meant.
Well, the bureaucratic watchdog office stays.
Well, offhand, I can't think of what else to suggest.
Are you seriously telling me that there is no way we can cut down?
Well, I suppose we could lose 1 or 2 of the tea ladies.
Oh, pretty. Do we should take this seriously? Tea ladies. I want the facts. I want to know who works here, what they do, what buildings we have, what goes on in them. A complete record. Then we'll know where to cut costs, cut staff, cut procedures.
The Civil Service, Minister, exists to implement legislation enacted by Parliament. As long as Parliament continues to legislate, the Civil Service must continue to... However, I'm fully seized of your requirements, Minister, and if you'll excuse me, I'll go and set the wheels in motion. Morning, Mr. Weasel.
Weisel. Did you know that the North West Regional Controller has achieved cuts of £32 million in his region alone? And that the Civil Service is suppressing the whole story?
Is this true?
Well, if it is, I'm aghast.
Well, why are they suppressing it?
Because if he can save money, everyone else will have to do it.
Why don't you look into it? Have a bit of a ferret around.
Do you think I could?
I think that's a very good idea, Mr. Ferret. Weasel. It's just Mr. Bruff this morning, Minister, our Director of Manpower Planning for the North East region. You
Bruff?
remember? Yes. Staff reductions. And then straight to the House for question time and a 7 o'clock division, and 8 o'clock the French Prime Minister's reception at his embassy.
Right.
If you will excuse me, Minister, I must take the schedules down to the Whip's office.
Bernard.
Oh, yes, Minister.
'Tis worth it, you know. Centre page straight. 3 pictures.
Yes, I have read it, Minister.
See this one of me, the cheese roll and the cardboard plate. No luxury lunches in Hacker's new austerity regime. Economy begins at home, said Jim Hacker today, as he set an example to Britain's pampered army of bowler-hatted bureaucrats. Terrific, isn't it?
Yes, you have read it to me already, Minister.
Great, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Economise on the beaches.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I would like to see the Minister.
Do you have an appointment?
My name's Ron Watson. I'm the General Secretary of the Union of Civil Service Transport and Associated Government Workers.
Yes, Mr. Watson.
We're very disturbed about rumours of cutbacks and redundancies affecting our members.
I'm sorry, Mr. Watson, you can't see the Minister now. You must have an appointment. Look, phone me tomorrow.
Well, why can't I arrange it now?
Look, I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
All right, Mandy, see if you can make an appointment for Mr. Watson to see the Minister next week.
Next week?
Mr. Bruff? Yes, we're expecting Mr. Bruff now. Oh, when's it due at Euston? Oh, well, we'll just have to cancel it for today, then. Yes, I'll tell him. Goodbye. Oh, sorry to keep you. Now, about your appointment. When would be convenient?
The meeting's cancelled, then?
Yes.
Right, so I can see him now.
Oh, no, I'm afraid not. You see... Oh, would you excuse me just a moment? Yes? No, he's not here. Well, he's gone over to the whip's office, actually. Well, would you like the extension?
Oh, Mr. Bruff?
No, Mr. Bruff's had to cancel the meeting. My name's Ron Watson.
Oh, well, I'm glad you could get here instead, anyway. Sit down, won't you?
Oh, thank you.
Now, Mr.
Watson.
Mr. Watson, before we start, there's one thing I must make absolutely clear. This must not get out. If the unions were to get to hear of this, all hell would be let loose.
Oh, yes.
Of course, there'll be redundancies. You simply can't slim down a giant bureaucracy like this without getting rid of people. Ultimately, a lot of people.
Won't you be holding discussions with the unions first?
We'll go through the charade of discussions. But you know what trade unionists are like. Thick as two short planks and bloody-minded.
All of them?
Pretty well. Good Lord, you should know. All they're interested in is poaching each other's members and getting themselves on the telly. And they can't keep their big mouths shut.
What about drivers and transport service staff?
First to go. Good Lord. We waste a fortune on cars and drivers, and they're all on the fiddle.
I see. Because, as I was trying to explain, I'm not Mr. Bruff's deputy. I'm the General Secretary of the Union of Civil Service Transport and Associated Government Workers. And I came here to check there was no truth in the rumour of redundancies for my members.
Well, I didn't... All I meant... Oh, God. Hello, darling. Thank you, George. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Hello, darling.
Hello. Leaving me at last.
It's our anniversary tomorrow. Have you forgotten?
No, of course I hadn't forgotten. We're going to Paris. Oh, my God.
You had forgotten.
No, I hadn't. No, it's just that I didn't... I'm going to Swansea tomorrow.
Swansea?
And Newcastle.
I don't want to go to Swansea and Newcastle for my anniversary.
No, not you, just me.
Cancel them.
I can't. What are you doing?
Cancel them. We booked this 3 months ago.
I can't.
Then I'll go to Paris without you.
Bernard? Yes, it's me. Look, I'm going to have to cancel tomorrow. Yeah, Swansea and Newcastle. Well, you see, it's my wife's wedding anniversary tomorrow.
It's yours, too.
Yeah, and mine, too, actually. Yes, it is. What do you mean, coincidence? Don't be silly, Bernard. Anyway, I'm going to Paris tomorrow, and that's final. Yes, I know I said before that it's final, but this time it is final. Well, you'll just have to cope as best you can, that's all. Yes. Yes? Definitely. Yes? Is that clear? Right.
We're going to Paris.
No, I'm going to Swansea and Newcastle. See me on TV tonight?
I saw somebody who looked like you.
What's that meant to mean?
Nothing?
Frank Weisel says I've just become a civil service mouthpiece.
Yes.
What do you mean, yes?
Well, yes.
You mean you agree?
Of course.
What do you mean, of course?
I mean, you could have hired an actor to say it all for you. He'd have said it better. And while you're at it, why not just sign your letters with a rubber stamp or get an assistant principal to sign them for you? They write them anyway.
Assistant principals do not write my letters. Under-secretaries do that.
I rest my case, my lord.
You don't think I've just become a puppet to you?
Yes, I do. Maybe you should get Miss Piggy to do your job. At least she's prettier.
I don't know what to do about it. I'm just swamped by the work. Annie, I'm so depressed.
Look, as we're not going to Paris, let's at least go out for a quiet little dinner tonight at the Trat on the corner.
No, I can't. Bernard's told me I've got to get through 3 red boxes tonight.
What do you mean Bernard's told you? Oh, darling, when you edited Reform, you were quite different. You went in, you told people what to do, you demanded what you wanted, and you got it. Now, either you get them by the throat or they get you by the throat. How many articles did you blue pencil and tear up in those days?
Dozens.
And how many official papers have you torn up?
I'm not allowed to.
Not allowed to? Darling, you're the minister. You can do anything you like.
The fact of the matter is that the civil service and I are in complete accord over this whole business. And I'm happy to announce that we're now ready to put our proposals into publication. In fact, tonight, I can say that from September the 1st, every citizen of the UK will have the absolute right to inspect his personal file and check any information that he or she has ever supplied to the government. Second, no civil servant will be allowed to examine personal files from another department without a written authority from a minister. And I shall be announcing in the House next week legislation enabling citizens to take legal action against any civil servant who gains unauthorized access to his file.
Encouraging, Minister. Why did you not say so in the first place and put people's minds at rest?
Frankly, I didn't believe that the civil service could meet our deadlines, Godfrey. But they've convinced me that they can, and in fact, my permanent secretary has staked his reputation on it. If not, heads will roll. Anyway, assistant heads.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Minister.
It can't be done.
It's been announced on television.
Well, Bernard, what did you make of our minister's performance?
Well, I think it's checkmate.
See me on the box last night, Humphrey?
Of course, Minister.
How was I? Good?
A most remarkable performance, Minister, if I may say so.
Oh, you may.
Thank you, Minister. Well, Minister, we've been working very hard all night. And I'm happy to be able to tell you that we have come up with some draft proposals which would enable you to achieve your desired objectives by the stated dates.
Well done, Humphrey. You see, I told the nation how splendid you were, and I was right. I had every confidence in you.
Quite so, Minister.
Must have had quite a night.
Yes, Minister, quite a night.
Let's see your proposals.
Here they are.
Here are mine.
Would you have specific proposals too?
No, indeed I have. Now, Humphrey, you read out what you've got on safeguards, and I'll read out what I've got, and we'll see how they compare.
Personal data. 1A. Safeguards must be applied with reference to 2 criteria. The need to know and the right to know. 1A1. The need to know.
Only those officials for whom the information is submitted may be deemed prima facie to have a need to know. We seem to be of the same mind, Humphrey.
Indeed, Minister. Where did those proposals come from? Minister, can you hear me? Where did those proposals come from?
Humphrey, my lips are sealed.
Just one more thing, Minister. The evidence to the Central Policy Review staff.
Oh, you mean the think tank, Humphrey?
Yes, Minister.
What about it?
Have you redrafted the redraft of your draft?
You don't want it yet, do you?
Yes.
Why?
Well, so that we can redraft it.
No, that won't be necessary,
I think it
Humphrey.
will, Minister.
Humphrey, drafting is not a civil service monopoly, you know.
No, it's a highly specialized skill which few outside the service can master.
Nonsense. Drafts is easy. It's a game anyone can play.
Not without getting huffed. So, could I have the draft proposal, please?
Certainly, Humphrey.
When, Minister?
Later, Humphrey.
Yes, but when?
Well, you're always saying we mustn't rush things, aren't you?
Minister, I must ask you for a straight answer. On what day? Tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday?
In due course, Humphrey. At the appropriate juncture. In the fullness of time. When the moment is ripe. When the necessary procedures have been completed. Nothing precipitate, of course.
Minister, this is getting urgent.
Urgent, Humphrey? What a lot of new words we're learning.
Now, Minister, you'll forgive me if I say this, but I'm beginning to suspect that you are concealing something from me.
Oh, surely. You and I have no secrets from each other, have we, Humphrey?
I'm sorry, Minister, but sometimes one is forced to consider the possibility that affairs are being conducted in a way which, all things being considered and making all possible allowances, is, not to put too fine a point on it, perhaps not entirely straightforward.
Well, you're the expert on straightforwardness.
So what about the draft evidence to the Central Policy Review staff?
Well, since you ask, Humphrey, and to be perfectly straightforward, I have redrafted it myself. I don't want you to redraft it. I am perfectly happy with it as it is.
May I be bold enough to ask what you have said?
I've said what I wanted to say. Phased reductions in the civil service.
Yes, but
Humphrey, you have frustrated me over open government. You have frustrated me over the economy drive. But this time I'm going to have my way. The party wants it. The public wants it. And I'm bound to say that all we get from the civil service is delaying tactics.
Well, I wouldn't call civil service delays tactics, Minister. That would be to mistake lethargy for strategy.
Very droll, Humphrey. But you must realise that there is a real desire for radical reform in the air. The All-Party Select Committee on Administrative Affairs, which I founded, is a case in point. It's a great success.
Oh, indeed. What has it achieved?
Nothing yet. The party is very pleased with it.
Ah. Why?
10 column inches in last Monday's Daily Mail for a start.
Oh, I see. The government is going to measure its success in column inches, is it?
Yes. No. Yes and no.
Now, Minister, the evidence that you're proposing to submit is not only untrue, it is also, which is much more serious, unwise. Now, we've been through all this before. The expansion of the civil service is the result of parliamentary legislation, not bureaucratic empire building.
So when this next comes up at question time, you want me to tell Parliament that it's their fault that the civil service is too big?
But it's the truth, Minister.
I don't want the truth. I want something I can tell Parliament. Humphrey, you're my permanent secretary. You're supposed to enact my policies, yet I still don't understand why you seem implacably opposed to them. I must know where you stand on all this.
Where one stands, Minister, depends upon where one sits.
Am I to infer that you'll not support me?
Oh, we'll always support you, Minister, but as your standard-bearer, not as your pall-bearer.
Humphrey, what are you saying?
I should have thought it was crystal clear, Minister. Do not send this report to a body whose recommendations are to be published.
That is exactly why I'm sending it. Now, I don't want to hear any more about it.
Look, everybody knows this Europass thing won't happen. Well, the PM's got to play along with it until after the Napoleon Prize is awarded.
Napoleon Prize?
Yes, it's a NATO award, given once every 5 years. Gold medal, big ceremony in Brussels, £100,000. The PM's the front runner this time. It's for the statesman who's made the biggest contribution to European unity.
Since Napoleon. That is, if you don't count Hitler.
So, what? Well, the awards committee sits in 6 weeks' time. Well, obviously, the PM isn't going to rock the boat until it's in the bag.
You don't put boats in bags.
What's that, Bernard?
Oh, nothing, Minister.
Once the prize is awarded, the PM will obviously dump the Europasses.
Martin, how many people know about the winner of the Napoleon Prize?
Well, it's top secret.
Oh, you mean everyone?
No, top secret.
Well, that's it then. Humphrey, don't you see?
See what, Minister?
Backbenchers, leaks.
What, the Welsh Nationalist Party?
No.
Oh, sorry for it, Secretary. I'll come back.
No, don't go. The very man. Come on in, Daniel. I want to ask your advice.
You know, I'll give any help I can, Minister. Though if it's a question of shutting stable doors after horses have bolted, even I am powerless to help, advice-wise.
I don't think you'll be powerless in this case. It's really sort of moral dilemma. Look, supposing a backbencher were to put down a question for the Prime Minister, asking whether the Europass...
Which backbencher? Europass is top secret.
Oh, you mean like the winner of the Napoleon Prize is top secret?
I think the Minister meant a hypothetical backbencher.
Quite so, Bernard. Thank you. A hypothetical backbencher. And a hypothetical question to the PM asking whether or not Britain was going to adopt the Europass.
Highly improbable.
Oh, I agree. Highly improbable. But suppose the PM were to answer yes, it would be very damaging in the country. Yes. And suppose the PM were to answer no, it would be very damaging in Europe. And to the PM personally, Napoleon Prize-wise. Now, suppose a hypothetical minister were to get to hear of this hypothetical question in advance. What should he do?
Well, the only responsible course would be to ensure that the question was not tabled. That must be obvious.
Serious business, trying to suppress an MP's question.
Nevertheless, there is no other course.
The only way to stop him might be to get him to put down a question asking the Prime Minister to squash the rumours about the closure of the Department for Administrative Affairs.
Oh, I'm sure. Whatever made you think? No question of anything but the fullest support.
But you said only yesterday that a plan to abolish the department had been put up, and the PM was smiling on it.
No, smiling at it. Smiling at it, not on it. The whole idea is ridiculous, laughable, out of the question. Joke.
A joke?
It's a joke. I mean, you didn't imagine...
So that a minute from the Prime Minister's office confirming this and squashing the rumour will be circulated to all departments within 24 hours, so that we can all share it. Joke-wise, I mean.
Do you really think it's necessary?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure something can be arranged, if you'll excuse me.
Checkmate, I think.
Game, set and match.
But can Daniel Hughes really fix this? I mean, don't Prime Ministers have minds of their own?
Well, certainly. But as President Nixon's henchman once said, when you've got them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. So you think this might not get into the national press?
Well, a few lines on the inside page of The Guardian, but nothing to worry about. Actually, it's only the urban middle class who worry about the preservation of the countryside, because they don't have to live in it. Would that be all, Minister?
Yes. No! This may well blow over, but it doesn't answer my basic question.
Which was?
Why wasn't I told about it before I made the announcement?
There are those who have argued, and indeed cogently, that on occasion there are some things it is better for a minister not to know.
What are you talking about?
Minister, your answers in the House and at the press conference were superb. You were convincing and convinced. The critics were silenced, but could you have spoken with the same authority if the ecological pressure group had been badgering you?
But I have a right to know. I am the people's representative. What right have you got to withhold this information from me? It's intolerable.
It's in your own best interest, Minister.
What do you mean there are some things it is better for a minister not to know? I mean, it's outrageous. It must not occur again. And it so happens that I've got a plan here for the reorganization of this department which will ensure that it doesn't.
Indeed?
Yes, indeed. Now, if I were to have one undersecretary and two assistant secretaries reporting directly to me...
Minister,
no,
please.
No, just a moment, Humphrey. Let me tell you my plan.
The plan is immaterial. Minister, I have something to say to you which you may not like to hear.
Why should today be any different?
Minister, the traditional allocation of executive responsibilities has always been so determined as to liberate the ministerial incumbent from the administrative minutiae by devolving the managerial functions to those whose experience and qualifications have better formed them for the performance of such humble offices, thereby releasing their political overlords for the more onerous duties and profound deliberations which are the inevitable concomitant of their exalted position.
Now, whatever made you think I wouldn't want to hear that?
Well, I thought it might upset you.
How could it? I didn't understand a single word. Humphrey, for God's sake, for once in your life, put it into plain English.
If you insist. You are not here to run this department.
I beg your pardon?
You are not here to run this department.
I think I am. The people think I am too.
With respect, Minister, you are... they are wrong.
And who does run this department?
I do.
I see. And what am I supposed to do?
We've been through all this before. Make policy, get legislation enacted, and above all, secure the department's budget in Cabinet.
I sometimes think that the budget is all you ever really care about.
Well, it is rather important, Minister. If nobody cared about the budget, we might end up with a department so small that even a minister could run it.
Humphrey, are we about to have a fundamental disagreement about the nature of democracy?
No, Minister, merely a demarcation dispute. What I mean is that the menial chore of running a department is beneath you. You're fashioned for a nobler calling.
Well, I'm quite prepared to leave the routine paperwork to you, but I must insist on direct access to all information. Never again do I want to hear that phrase, there are some things it is better for a minister not to know. Is that clear?
Well, Minister, I do
That is an order, Humphrey.
As you say, Minister, if that is what you really want.
It's treating cabinet ministers as though they were irresponsible 10-year-olds.
Miss Hacker intends to join the Badger protest.
Oh, I thought it was over.
No, she and her boyfriend are going to conduct a 24-hour Save the Badgers vigil in Hayward Spinney unless a protection order is restored. And they're putting their announcement out to the press at 5 p.m.
Minister's daughter in Badger protest vigil. That's a little embarrassing, but it's not too serious.
Sir Humphrey, I think the minister is going to be more than a little embarrassed.
What do you mean?
Minister's daughter in nude Badger protest vigil.
What?
Yes, Miss Hacker and her boyfriend will be, that is, will not be. I mean, yes.
Do you mean Starkers, Bernard?
Yes, Sir Humphrey.
I see. Well, this puts a different complexion on it.
Yeah, especially in this weather.
Put in true journalistic terms, this makes it a big story. Front page with photograph.
Now, Humphrey. Something the matter? Well?
Well, shall we say a slight embarrassment, Minister?
How slight?
Well, without wishing in any sense to overstate the case or cause undue alarm, nevertheless, the fact remains...
Oh, come on, Humphrey, out with it.
Minister, I have a confession to make.
Oh, that's a change. Oh. Come on, Humphrey. Make a clean breast of it.
Not the happiest of phrases under the
How do you mean?
I have to confess that the Badgers in Hayward Spinney may turn out to be a somewhat bigger story than we thought.
No. Don't tell me they're going to have kittens.
No, it's not the Badgers who are going to have kittens, Minister. There's going to be a 24-hour protest vigil in Hayward Spinney.
Yeah, well, you told me it wouldn't be very newsworthy.
No, it's slightly different, Minister. It's to be conducted by a girl student and her boyfriend.
What, just the two of them?
Yes.
Well, they don't matter, do they? Pair of irresponsible layabouts.
Well, they might matter to some people.
Nonsense, Bernard! Everybody's fed up with these ghastly students. They're just exhibitionists, you know.
Well, in this case, it would seem they have something to exhibit. It's to be a nude protest vigil.
I see. Yes, that would make the front pages.
Yes, quite so.
Well, the press just mustn't find out. Oh, really? I don't know what gets into these students. It's appalling. They're shameless.
Indeed, Minister.
It's their parents, you know. They don't bring them up properly. Just let them run wild, and then feed them all this trendy, middle-class, anti-establishment nonsense.
Well, perhaps it isn't entirely the parents' fault, Minister.
Oh, of course it is. Authority, Humphrey. All this student anarchy is a shocking indictment of their parents' lack of authority and discipline. So they just take it out on innocent people like me. Who are they? Do we know?
Well, we know the young lady's name.
Lady? Huh. Who is she?
Well, it seems she's a Miss Hacker.
Oh, that's my name. That's a coincidence.
Not a complete coincidence.
Not Lucy. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
As you see, she will be telephoning in 10 minutes' time.
Perhaps the press won't be all that interested. No, yeah. But will they really think it worthwhile going all the way up to Warwickshire?
For a story like this, I fear they'll think it worth going all the way to the South Pole. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Humphrey. Morning, Bernard. Sorry I'm late. Just put them on the desk, would you, George?
Yes, sir.
I'll be about an hour. I don't want to be late at Broadcasting House.
Right, sir.
What's this broadcast all about, by the way? NATO, isn't it?
No, Minister. Partnerships in industry.
Oh, yes. Knew it was something like that. Who else is in it?
It's all in there, Minister. An employer and a trade unionist, as usual.
Joe Morgan. Wasn't he the TUC representative on the Solihull project?
Minister,
Yes, Humphrey.
Minister, you are not proposing to refer to the Solihull project on the air?
Certainly. I regard it as a shining example of cooperation between the government and private industry.
Yes, but all the same, I would be much happier if it were omitted.
Why?
Well, don't you think it's rather premature?
Certainly not. Building started months ago.
Exactly. Rather out of date, in fact.
Premature and out of date.
Well, untimely. Don't you think it'd be rather uninteresting to the general public?
Certainly not. It's something that's going on right now. Extremely interesting.
Yes, quite so. So interesting, in fact, that there is a danger that it might obscure your main point, perhaps.
What is my main point?
Bernard, what's the minister's main point?
Yes, that private projects are more socially responsible with government money, and government projects are more efficient with private investment.
There I see. It underlines my main point. You really are a wet blanket, aren't you, Humphrey? Just go about stirring up apathy.
Minister, I must seriously advise you, with all the earnestness at my command, not to refer to the Solihull project on the air today.
Why?
What?
I said why.
Why?
Why?
Well, Minister.
Couldn't be that you're planning to take the credit for this yourself, could it? At next month's European Convention of Government Administration?
I beg your pardon.
Your keynote speech will make very good reading, won't it? Well, let me tell you a few facts of life, Humphrey. It is politicians who are responsible ultimately to the people, and it is we who get the credit, not civil servants.
Minister, I would be perfectly happy for you to have the credit for this project, but I must beg, beseech, and implore you not today.
No, it's no good, Humphrey. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm going to get all the political capital I can out of the Solihull project.
Minister, I must
know a good
strongly...
thing when I see one.
Please, Minister, do listen to...
No,
Minister...
No. Humphrey.
What?
£7.5 million, probable bankrupt proceeding, imminent collapse of project. Well, imminent collapse of project? Humphrey, why didn't you tell me all this before?
Minister, I am deeply conscious of the heavy burdens
When
of your
this becomes
office.
public knowledge, it'll be all over the front pages. It's a public scandal, a disaster.
It's appalling.
Wait a minute, Jim. Look, this report is dated before the election. You're in the clear. You're laughing.
Yes, but unfortunately, under the Convention of Ministerial Responsibility, the blame
But
must...
everyone will know it wasn't Jim.
Quite so, but the principle of democratic accountability requires the occasional human sacrifice. When the pack is baying for blood. Isn't that right, Minister?
Surely he has only to point to the dates.
Oh, a lesser man might try to wriggle out of it, but there is only one honourable course open, as the Minister is well aware.
Don't you think Frank might have a point?
Except, of course, only today, Minister, you have publicly identified yourself with the success of the project.
My God, the broadcast!
Yes, Minister.
When's it going out?
Well, it's due for transmission about now, Minister.
No.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Get onto the BBC at once.
Yes, Minister.
Stop it, Bernard.
Stop what, Minister? Oh, yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, Minister, I wish you luck, but you know what the BBC are like.
This is crisis. An emergency. This is a scandal.
Of course, I'm sure if you were to put it like that, they might...
Might what?
Move it to peak listening time.
Any luck, Bernard?
I'd just like to find out that there is a perfect example of what can be done. It's going on up in Solihull now, and government money and private investment in real partnership. And it does seem to me symbolic of everything this government is working for. I've taken a great deal of personal interest in the Solihull project, and it's not just words, it's actually there in bricks and mortar.
Symbolic of everything this government is working.
Humphrey, how could you let me say all those things?
Minister, I can only advise. I did advise. I advised most
Yeah.
strongly, but when the adviser's advice is unheeded...
All right. Advise me, now.
Certainly, Minister. Now, it is possible that the bank may take over the contract from Bradley and Sloan Enterprises Limited, and all will be well.
The bank? Fine. Well,
the bank, however, is hesitant. But it so happens that the director in charge is to retire next year, and he's anxious to find another appointment. A chairmanship of a quango, for instance.
Well, give him one. Give him that one you were reserving for that idiot Desmond Glazebrook. Who is the director in charge?
Desmond Glazebrook.
He's not a bad chap.
He's always attacking the government in public.
Yes, well, it does us good sometimes to appoint our opponents. I mean, you know, it's democratic, statesmanlike. Yes, I've changed my mind. I think that's a very good appointment.
But you can't.
Oh, shut up, Frank. Anybody else know about this?
Well, apart from ourselves and the bank and Michael Bradley, only the union representative on the project.
Joe Morgan, of course. That's what was behind his special Birmingham allowance claim. Blackmail.
That's quite so, Minister.
Humphrey, I've been thinking, if Desmond Glazebrook is going to be chairman, he'll need some support, won't he? Now, I was thinking of a deputy chairman, someone with real experience of industry.
An excellent thought, Minister.
Is there anyone you could advise me would be particularly appropriate, do you think? A trade unionist, for example?
What about Joe Morgan, Minister?
Joe Morgan? Excellent idea. Well done, Humphrey.
Oh, it takes two to quango, Minister.
Bernard, is it important? I have to finish these cabinet defence papers.
I'm afraid this is much more urgent, Minister.
What is it?
Your Christmas cards, Minister. They cannot be postponed any longer.
Right. Which is which?
Well, they're all clearly labelled, Minister. These you signed Jim, these you signed Jim Hacker, these Jim and Annie, these Annie and Jim Hacker, these love from Annie and Jim. Oh, those are printed and those have cyclo-styled signatures, so you needn't write anything. Just check to make sure they don't include cards that should have been personally signed Jim or Jim Hacker or Jim and Annie or Annie and Jim Hacker or love from Annie and Jim.
What about those?
Oh, those are the constituency cards. Your election agent dropped them off this morning. As you see, they've been divided up. Those you signed Jim, those you signed Jim Hacker, those Jim and Annie, those Annie and Jim Hacker, those...
Thank you, Bernard. I think I've got the gist. Is that the lot?
Apart from the ones waiting for you at party headquarters.
Party headquarters? I didn't do those last Christmas.
Well, you weren't party chairman last year.
Do I have to send this one?
Why not?
It's to Maurice in Brussels. He's the one who forced through the plan to standardise the Euro sausage.
Euro sausage?
By the end of next year, we shall be waving goodbye to the good old British sausage. And we'll be forced to accept some foreign muck like salami or bratwurst or something in its place.
But they can't stop us eating the British sausage, can they?
They can stop us calling it the sausage, though. Apparently it's got to be called the emulsified high-fat offal tube.
And you swallowed it?
It's my job to implement EEC regulations. Could finish my career.
But what have they got against our sausage?
Oh, dear. Don't you ever read the papers you give me?
Well, yes, I glanced at it, Minister, but it rather put me off.
Apparently, there's not enough meat in it. The average British sausage consists of 32.5% fat, 6.5% rind, 20% water, 10% rusk, 5% seasoning, preservative and colouring, and only 26% meat, which is mostly gristle, head meat, other offcuts, and mechanically recovered meat steamed off the carcass. I don't feel particularly... I had one for breakfast.
Perhaps the EEC Commissioner is right.
You may be right, but it'd be extremely unpopular with the voters. Oh, well, we shall just have to grit our teeth and bite on the bullet.
You can't bite a bullet if you're gritting your teeth, Minister. You see, if you do that, you can't get the bullet in the... Sorry.
By the way, Bernard, you were going to advise me what presents it would be suitable to give to the private office.
Well, of course, that's entirely up to you, Minister. Bottles of sherry for the assistant secretaries, large boxes of House of Commons mints for the diary secretary and the correspondence secretary, and small boxes of House of Commons mints for the rest.
What about my personal private secretary?
Oh, that's me.
Yes, of course. What should I give you?
Well, you don't have to give me anything.
I know that, Bernard, but I'd like to.
Oh, Minister. Well, anything, really.
Such as?
Well, really, I would like a surprise.
sort of surprise should I give you?
A bottle of champagne's the customary surprise.
What time is my meeting with Humphrey?
Oh, that's been cancelled, Minister. Sir Humphrey had to rush away to an urgent meeting with the Cabinet Secretary.
The Cabinet Secretary? Which makes me feel rather nervous. You know, in some ways, Sir Arnold is the most powerful chap in the country. Permanent access to the PM, controls Cabinet agenda, controls access to everything. I wonder what he's up to. Enjoying yourself?
Yes, thank you, Minister.
Enjoying yourself?
Lovely party.
Yes, Minister, it's frightfully good fun.
Always good to let your hair down, isn't it? Right. Now, I think it's time I said a few words. This is a very, very special occasion for us all. Peace on earth, goodwill to all men. Sorry, persons. It's always good to have this little get-together amongst the people who serve me, work with me, with me here at the Department of the Ministry of at the DAA. We're a team. You're like the Cabinet, except we're all on the same side. Not that the Cabinet. No, well, I meant really the shadow Cabinet. Yeah, let's keep politics out of this. Season of goodwill. That's why Parliament doesn't sit over Christmas, eh? Season of goodwill. Even to one's officials. Well, what can I say? Humpy.
Sir Humphrey Appleby.
Humphrey. Thank you very much. I would just like to thank you all for all the hard work you've done all these years. An occasion like this engenders a certain emotional ambiguity and personal ambivalence.
What's ambiguous about it?
While one is, one should say, honoured by the cause of one's departure, one is saddened by the fact of it. In particular, saddened by having to leave the service of a minister without parallel in one's experience.
That's jolly
and
decent.
break a unique partnership.
Absolutely unique.
So, I should end, I think, by wishing a happy Christmas to you all, but in particular to a minister whom, in the brief time that we've had him with us, we've watched grow in standing, in stature, and in sureness of touch. So, seasonal felicitations to you all, but please, please do remember the Home Secretary's campaign for the holidays. Don't drink and drive this Christmas.
I'll drink to that. Oh,
I do wish you'd let me drive, Jim.
I'm driving perfectly safely.
We do have to get home before dawn.
Good evening, Constable.
Can I see your license, sir?
Yes, certainly.
Aren't you Mr. Jim Hacker?
Yes, that's right. What seems to be the trouble?
Any reason you were driving so slowly?
Well, I didn't want the curb to hit. I didn't want to hit the curb. Hey, look, I've got a silver badge somewhere.
I see. Perhaps you'd like Constable Evans to drive you the rest of the way.
Oh, no, it's all right, officer. I'll drive.
All right, Mrs. Hacker. If you're in a proper state to drive.
Oh, I don't drink, officer. Well, not when my husband's driving.
Oh, nor do I. Hardly.
How are things at the campaign for the freedom of information, by the way?
Sorry, I can't talk about that. So, will the new PM be our eminent Chancellor or our distinguished Foreign Secretary?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Which do you think it should be?
Difficult. Like asking which lunatic should run the asylum.
The trouble is, they're both interventionists. They'd both have foolish notions about running the country themselves if they became Prime Minister.
Have we any allies?
Oh, quite a few, yeah. Chief Whip particularly. And he's worried that whichever gets the job will antagonize the other's supporters and split the party.
So we're looking for a compromise candidate.
Malleable?
Flexible.
Likeable?
No firm opinion.
No bright ideas?
Not intellectually committed.
Without the strength of purpose to change anything.
Someone who you know can be manipulated, professionally guided.
And leave the business of government in the hands of the experts. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's impossible.
Why, a lot of the government would welcome a, shall we say, less interventionist leader.
Well, not the other two candidates.
They might be persuaded.
Want to stand aside?
Yes. Have you had a chance to glance at their MI5 files?
No.
Oh, you should always send for cabinet ministers' MI5 files if you enjoy a good laugh.
Oh, Bernard.
Sir, just...
Thank you very much. Yes, do sit down.
Oh, thank you.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
Right. So, this is our very last piece of DAA business, isn't
Yes, I'm afraid so, Sir Humphrey.
it? Oh, well. Bernard, just let me ask you something. What would you say to your present master as the next Prime Minister?
The Minister?
Yes.
Mr. Hacker?
Yes.
As Prime Minister?
Yes. Are you in a hurry?
No, I'm just checking to see it wasn't April the 1st.
Are you suggesting that your minister is not up to the job of Prime Minister?
Oh, no, Sir Arnold, it's not for me to, well, I mean, of course I'm sure he's, oh, gosh.
There is a considerable body of opinion that can see many advantages in the appointment.
For Britain?
For Britain.
Yes, well, yes.
So we trust you to ensure that your minister does nothing incisive or divisive over the next few weeks.
Avoids anything controversial.
Expresses no firm opinion about anything at all. Now, is that quite clear?
Yes, well, I think that's probably what he was planning to do anyway.
Minister.
Humphrey, what's all the hurry?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I've just been able to arrange a brief meeting with the European Commissioner.
Nice, but he's flown out this morning.
No, his flight's been delayed.
Oh, so?
Well, I think we might be able to persuade him to solve our little sausage problem.
Humphrey, how?
Well, excuse me. Yes? Oh, yes. Ask him to come in, will you? Thank you. Leave it to me. Just give me support when I ask for it. Maurice, very nice to see you. You know each other?
Yes, sir, Jim. To what do I owe this pleasure?
The minister asked me to arrange this little meeting to see if you could help us with a problem.
Problem? Of course.
Now, the problem is that the EEC is becoming very unpopular over here. Isn't that so, Minister?
Very unpopular. And you want to restore its image?
Yes.
No.
No.
And the problem is that the minister feels that there would be more votes, that he would be better expressing the views of the British people by joining the attack on the EEC than by leaping to its defense.
Exactly.
But your government is committed to support us.
The minister's point, as I understand it, is that the government's commitment is to the concept and to the treaty.
Treaty.
It's not committed to the institutions, nor to the practices, nor to individual policies. The minister was giving me an example the other day, weren't you, Minister? About food production.
Oh, yes. I've discovered that one of your officials spends all his time paying farmers to produce masses of surplus food, while somebody in the next office pays people to destroy the surpluses.
That's not true.
No.
He's not in the next office, not even on the same floor.
And the Minister has hundreds of similar examples, haven't you, Minister? And the nub of the problem is that the Minister is beginning to think that some member of the Cabinet ought to start telling the British people about them.
That would be intolerable. Even the Italians wouldn't stoop that low.
The Italians aren't being asked to redesignate salami as emulsified, high-fat offal tubing.
And what are you proposing? After all, we are committed to harmonization. We cannot call it the sausage. What do you suggest?
Well, politics is about presentation. Why don't we call it the British sausage?
British sausage. Saucisse anglaise. Salsicce inglese. British wurst. Yes, I think we could. Recommend that to the Commission.
Splendid. The Minister's always said that the EEC is a splendid institution, haven't you, Minister?
Splendid.
Today's big story about the proposed European ban on the British sausage has caused a major political storm. Westminster sources say the sausage could be another banana skin. This can only add to the government's problems with the succession. Senior people in the party are increasingly troubled by the fact that the two obvious candidates for the leadership represent the extreme wings of the party. Pressure is mounting for them to withdraw in favor of a compromise candidate, but none of the other contenders so far seems to have caught the public imagination. Now sport, there are only two matches in the campaign.
Is that true about the compromise candidate?
I believe so.
Where do they get their information from?
I can't imagine, but... Anyway, I never said compromise. I said moderate.
Incidentally, Minister, why are BBC Television and ITN covering your speech this evening?
I can't imagine, Bernard.
I know that fire and safety policy in government buildings is awfully important.
Someone suggested that I was going to raise other issues as well.
Who?
Can't imagine, Bernard. I am a good European. I believe in the European ideal. Never again shall we repeat the bloodshed of the 2 world wars. Europe is here to stay. But this does not mean that we have to bow the knee to every directive from every little bureaucratic Bonaparte in Brussels. We are a sovereign nation still. We are British and proud of it. We have made enough concessions to the European Commissar for Agriculture, and when I say Commissar, I use the word advisedly. We've swallowed the wine lake, we've swallowed the butter mountain, we've watched our French friends beating up British lorry drivers carrying good British lamb to the French public. We have bowed and scraped and doffed our caps, tugged our forelocks, and turned the other cheek, but I say enough is enough. The Europeans have gone too far. They are now threatening the British sausage. They want to standardize it, by which they mean they'll force the British people to eat salami and bratwurst and other garlic-ridden, greasy foods. Alien to the British way of life. Do you want to eat salami for breakfast with your egg and bacon? I don't. And I won't. They've turned our pints into litres and our yards into meters. We gave up the tanner, the threepenny bit, the 2-bob piece, and the half-crown, but they cannot and will not destroy the British sausage. Not while I'm here. In the words of Martin Luther, here I stand.
Minister, a message came through from Central House while you were in Cabinet Committee.
Yes, yes.
They brought the party meeting forward. It started an hour ago.
Brought it forward?
Yes, any moment now the committee will have decided whether or not they're going to bring up another candidate to oppose you in the election. But the Chief Whip will be phoning through the moment it's over.
Will they, what if they have... Which phone?
What?
Which phone will he ring on?
Oh, this one, probably. Or this one. Either, really.
The only danger is if Duncan and Eric withdraw, which they will, they might not support me, and that'll mean an election.
Yes, quite, but I understand that you're the favourite candidate for both factions, in which case you'd be unopposed.
That's what they say. Oh, well. No point in worrying about it. Might as well sit down and relax.
Yes. 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 Bernard has an urgent message.
Minister, the palace have been on the phone.
The palace? The palace? Why?
They want to know if you'll be free to kiss hands at 5 o'clock. That's only in the event of an unopposed recommendation.
I think I might be able to make that. Bernard, suppose that, you know, if I should still want a principal private secretary. Do you think...
Oh, Minister. Gosh.
That'd be all right, wouldn't it, Humphrey?
Well, the Prime Minister's word is law, Minister. Yes. Yes. Yes, he's here. I'll tell him. Yes, Prime Minister.